They say that you attend or listen to a TED Talk only to change your world. Now, the idea that I'll be sharing with you guys over the next 18 minutes or so is not that innovative. But I believe that it is still an idea that is worth sharing. It is still an idea that is powerful. And yes, it is still an idea that can change your world. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So first of all, I'd like to thank the students and staff of the MIT Global Business School, Kochi, for giving me this opportunity to share this idea with you. Now, with respect to the idea, like I said, it is not that novel. So my speech today would serve to reinforce that idea, remind that idea once again into all our lives. So what is this idea? It is a simple manifestation of this powerful concept: charity begins at home. Or one's first responsibility is to the needs of one's family and friends. Now I'll take you to 3 simple points by which you can integrate this powerful concept into your lives. So the key takeaway of my speech today is just 3 simple points, which are, number 1, help yourself. Number 2, help your own. And number 3, help your space. So let me take you to point number 1, help yourself. Now before I start, a quick show of hands. How many people in this audience is below or equal to 35 years of age? A quick show of hands, please. Okay, that's like 80%. Now this demographic, the folks under 35 years of age, is a very important demographic for India today. Over 65% of the Indian population falls under 35 years of age. And this demographic is one of the key drivers of the Indian growth story. This decade, which we are in, and the next few decades, are expected or considered to be the best years of the Indian growth story. India is poised to grow phenomenally. And all of us, below 35, above 35, all of us are fortunate to be part of this decade or this time. We are all at the right time and at the right place. So it is in this context that I take you to point number 1, help yourself. Now when I say help yourself, what I mean is to develop those resources within yourself to start this journey. Now there are many resources that you could choose to develop in yourself. I believe the most powerful resource that you can develop in yourself is the attainment of financial freedom. And with the Indian growth story powering us from behind, it is very easy for us to do that. Almost everybody in this room today will end up becoming a crorepati. It is not a question of if, it is rather a question of when. It is a given. Now, if you're still searching, let me share an equation which seems to work for me in this particular direction. 40, 60, 40, 16. Whatever your income, save 40% of it. 60% of that 40%, put it into a diversified equity mutual fund. The remaining 40%, put in your bank, in your RD, FD, PPF, whatever. Now, if you're not really comfortable with this equation, flip it. Put 40% into the equity fund and put 60% into the bank. Do this every month for 16 years. you will be significantly wealthier and that much closer towards attaining financial freedom. Let the Indian growth story power your own. So point number 2 is about helping your own. Now this is basically looking at your inner circle. When I say inner circle, it is about your parents, your children, your wife, your siblings, your cousins, aunts, grandparents. Look at how you can help them out. Now, when I say help, it doesn't really mean monetary. Now, sometimes a simple phone call can change a person's life. Now, I know friends who've stopped talking to their parents or siblings for no particular reason, they're just busy. But a simple phone call can change a person's life. Now let me just tell you a story of a friend of mine who's based out of Bangalore. He's an MBA, he's working for one of the top IT companies. He comes from a middle class background. So he comes to Kochi to attend a wedding, and he meets his aunts, uncles, cousins, and one particular cousin reached out to him and told him that he's about to start, doing an MBA. And an MBA journey is a pretty comprehensive journey. So my friend realized that day that he was the only MBA in his bigger family. So they exchanged numbers and he felt that there's a lot of things that he could help this cousin with. And they decided to take this conversation later. My friend attended the wedding and went back to Bangalore. Sure enough, in a few days, the cousin called my friend. Now, as it is the case in today's world, my friend was too busy. He did not take the call and he forgot to return that call. A few months later, my friend remembered to return that call, and the cousin told my friend that day that in the ensuing time, he had did his own set of research. He did not really get much help from outside, and finally he had decided on a B school which is within his locality. And the very next day, the cousin was to pay about 12 lakhs to the selected B school. Now my friend, obviously much more worldly wise, he suggested that that is not a great idea. I mean, in fact, this particular B school did not really have many of the electives that the cousin was willing to specialize in. So and considering that the cousin had a reasonably good educational background, pretty high scores in many of the qualifying exams, my friend suggested a set of other B schools. And finally, the cousin kind of agreed that his selection of a B school was not that great. Now, all this happened in like 20 minutes. So in 20 minutes, my friend saved his cousin 12 lakhs. Now, 12 lakhs is a pretty significant amount of money. More importantly, now they say that the wrong selection of a B school can set your life back by about 4 to 5 years. More importantly, my friend saved this young guy 4 to 5 years of his young life. All that with just a 20-minute phone call. So look into your inner circle. There will be people whom will value your expertise, your experiences, your exposure. A simple phone call can change their lives. So make that call. My third point would be help your space. Now, when I refer to space, I basically mean, your neighborhood, your community, your society. Now, this is a very personal area. I mean, many people, they choose not to venture into this space, mainly because they're very uncomfortable with it. And that's perfectly all right. If you decide not to venture into this area, it's perfectly okay. But however, if you do decide to get into this space, let me tell you another story. Now, this is a story of a gentleman called Mr. PNC Menon. How many of you guys are familiar with that name? The brand which he's associated with, please. Shobha Developers, exactly. So I'm not really going to go this side, but I'm going to focus more with respect to a story about Mr. PNC Menon, which I found very inspiring. Now, PNC Menon, he started his career with 50 rupees in his pocket, Today he's a dollar billionaire. He also adopted 2 villages in his hometown of Palakkad. And he takes care of all the needs of all the families in these 2 villages with respect to your medical care, your education, your employment. If you really think about it, he's got a mechanism or he's got a system or his business which generates a particular cash flow. Obviously, a significant chunk of that cash flow gets reinvested into his business, but a part of that mechanism gets invested into these social initiatives. If you really think about it, almost all the famous philanthropists that you can think of, they have a similar working model. Whether it is Bill Gates, Nandan Nilekani, Azim Premji, Warren Buffett, they all have a mechanism which generates a particular cash flow. And a part of that cash flow is invested into these social initiatives. My point out here is to find that mechanism for yourself. Now, it is an extremely frustrating process, I'll tell you that. But it is extremely enriching and extremely creative. It's basically assessing yourself, assessing things out there. What can you do to generate that mechanism? So this is basically the 3 points which I would share with you with respect to integrating this powerful concept into all your lives. Now, I'd like to call this concept the concept of heart farming. Because just like a farmer nourishes, nurtures, and cultivates crops, the heart farmer goes through these steps and nourishes, nurtures, and cultivates hearts. Because what you get in return, once you follow these processes, is an army of hearts that are grateful to you. And what do you do with them? You basically ask them to spread the word forward and create more heart farmers. Simple as that. And why do you need to do this? Simple, because you can. You are the only person who can help your inner circle the way that you can. And at a higher level, because all of us, we are the privileged few. There's still a big chunk of the world which falls under the unprivileged bucket. Make that start by becoming a heart starter in a very small way, but become a heart farmer. So in conclusion, just 3 points. Help yourself. Remember this equation. You may not really agree with this equation, but use it as a starting point. Make your mistakes, find your own equation. Help your own. Like I said, a simple phone call can change a person's life. Make that call. And 3, help your space. Make your own mechanism. So that's all I've had for you guys today. I'd like to thank once again the staff and students of the MIT Global Business School, Kochi, for giving me this platform today. And I'd like to thank all of you guys for being a wonderful, wonderful audience. And may I remind you once again to live the change, voice the change, and be the change. Thank you.